Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's another rainy day here in the valley. It's been a rainy summer, right?
No, not up until the last couple of days, right?
No, I don't. I think you're. Yeah, I mean, we're thinking of the hot and the things, but
Yeah.
we've had our share of rain. There's no water shortage here. Seriously.
Okay.
Really? I mean, do you know any towns that have water bans?
Well, yeah, but not as many as usual, right?
Right. I mean, there are some that just got problems. That's
Right.
all they are. They just don't outgrew their systems, basically. But, yeah, I mean, my grass is green, and, you know.
And you're mowing it a lot?
Which is annoying.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No rain, it's growing the grass.
And it's been hot. It's been hot and humid. Hot and humid and wet. The funny thing is, though...
A couple weekends ago, I was in Texas, and it was triple digits. They had 15 days of triple digits in a row.
Yeah.
I came back here, it was worse. You know, because, they say it's a dry heat, but, man, it was brutal back here.
Yeah. I don't know. Texas is nice. Oh, how was it? Did you like it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I like it.
Did you do any, like, touring or anything?
Yeah. Well, we were just in Austin in that area and visiting
No ghost tours?
family. No ghost tours, no.
You have any interest in that at all?
I might. I'm open to it.
Have you ever
It's
gone
not
on
something
one?
I
Have you ever
seek
gone
out.
on a
No, I
ghost tour?
haven't, and I should.
You should just do a tour. Don't go to Salem and do it.
No, I'll take
too
one of
many
Roxy's up in Portsmouth. Or
Yeah,
something.
it's, a small group. It's really. I mean, that's. We went to.
I'm not really a tour guy. I'm antisocial.
So am I, but that's besides the point. I mean, you don't have to love these people.
Yeah, I'm not antisocial. I just social anxiety. I have social.
Yeah,
anxiety.
I don't like. It's difficult for me to. Not difficult, but I don't like going to concerts or anything where there's a bunch of people. It's just like. I don't know. It's just massidity. You can quote me on that if you'd like.
It's all right. Like big groups, like I'll go to the Patriots games or go to a concert or something. Yeah.
To me, that would be like.
I don't mind the groups if I don't have to interact. You know, it's the forced interaction that I get a little iffy about.
Yeah, I suppose. That's life. Whatever. Yeah, I went to speaking about that, I went to a wedding of my nephew, son, and I hadn't seen him for a couple of years, and we were the only one from his side of the family that were there, and so I didn't know what to expect, but they were awesome. All the people there were really friendly and great. Yeah, they dragged Jan out on the dancing floor. You know, they had to do the circle thing. You know, they have the circle all around. And yeah, poor Jan.
Well, it's funny though because you do exactly the type of thing that I have the most problem with, where it's a small enough group, so it's not a mass. It's not. Yeah. Everyone's got to associate with each other, and you interact, and it's like that's like a small tour of 10, 15, 20 people. That's like a nightmare for me because you can't go sit in the corner. And observe,
Yeah, you can. I mean, I don't
Plus, you're probably like me because people are always surprised I have that issue because I do this.
Yeah.
But this is, in large part, this is alter ego.
You shield it. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably the same thing when you're out doing your events. It's like you're, New England's own Van Helsing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking about that, we did the haunted tours at the lighthouse. You know, to raise money on the lighthouse on Saturday, which is. We did have rain. Do you remember Saturday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we did all right.
That must have made it kind of eerie.
We didn't get totally drenched or anything, so it was.
Have you ever been out in a thunderstorm in a lighthouse? I wonder what that's like.
I'm trying to think. That's why I said that. In the lighthouse, no, I don't think I have. I've done the tours in rain and stuff, but if we have thunder, you have to cancel them anyways, just for.
Yeah, I don't think a lighthouse is where you want to be. When lightning's going off.
I mean, that's my goal. We own Whaleback Lighthouse, which is off the coast, and I want to stay over that. My goal, I'd love to, is go into a Northeaster and stay there. That would be awesome. And just record everything. Because, there are no more offshore keepers, and nobody knows what it's like. But if I recorded it, then they could understand what at least they went through, some of it anyway.
Yeah, it would be a good, good heritage piece.
Yeah. So, anyways, we did these tours.
I used to chase storms because I love the ocean and the storm, but now I go to sea glass. Just sit and look out the window.
So, anyways, the tours, the 930 tour, we had people from Vermont, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. We had a girl, and I want to give a shout out to Anna, who came all the way up from Rhode Island to meet me, and I was like, wow. I was like, so. Like, wow, really? I wouldn't come up to Rhode Island and meet me.
No, why not? You're an interesting guy.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about interesting, we have to give a shout out to Roxy. It's her birthday today.
That's all right. Happy birthday, Roxy.
Happy birthday, Roxy. Yeah. So there we go with that. Anyways,
I think they're off celebrating today.
I'm sure they are. Anyways, the lighthouse is fun. Now I've been doing those. Just think about that. I've been doing tours and investigations there for. Oh, God, I can't remember. I know the first investigation did in 2005, so that's at least
13 years.
13 years?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 13?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 13 years. Yeah, so that's kind of cool that you go to the same place and you know, because then it gets a familiarity to it.
Right.
But I think you have more opportunity to really study it than if you do go in for one night like you see on some of these shows, or 2 nights even.
Are there reoccurring characters in 13 years?
Yeah. You know, it's intriguing. I don't want to go into the whole tour bit or everything, but the Coast Guard has always reported. Now, the Coast Guard, you have, you know, a real good witness in the Coast Guard. It's a professional, trained person. So they always report that.
Plus, they're very considerate about their reporting. In other words, a person wouldn't do that on a whim.
Right.
They wouldn't just come out and
they've told us
they have to have a lot of conviction.
Yeah. They've told us a lot, but this is kind of what I was getting to about being there for so long. Is originally they told us, and we still hear about they seeing a woman on the seawall and on the walls of the fort.
Right.
And when they go to investigate, she disappears. Or when they look out the windows, they see her in a monitor, and she's not there. So
they see her in the monitor.
Yeah, they have it's a Coast Guard base.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we used to do ghost hunts and everything else, and because after 9/11, they really cut down on a lot of the stuff that you could do there because of security. So they have basically, it looks like a control tower. You know, it's an observation tower. It goes red at night, and they have all infrared monitors, and they have cameras all over the base so that they can see what's going on.
Oh, I see.
And so they see a woman on the seawall.
On the monitors.
On the monitors, and when they look out the windows,
freak them the hell out.
Well, there's a lot more that goes on than that too, which is I don't want, like I said, I don't want to get into the whole spiel about it,
right?
Because that's part of our ghost tours. And give a teaser, but I won't give the whole thing. But anyways, so when we first came there in 2005, they told us that almost immediately. And so since then, we've had some interesting things. Now, there was an explosion in the fort, and originally we thought that 10 people were killed. But through the years, Jeremy Donchamont, who's a great researcher and historian, found out that there was a woman on the wall. They don't know who she was or anything, but she disappeared after the explosion. And they did find like a piece of her dress or something up there.
Yeah.
And there's no clue this woman is. And when I was
doing... Was this a July 4th explosion?
Yeah, July 4th.
Yeah.
So we did the tours, and we do the tours, and one of the places we go to is like a little observation tower inside the fort. It's a coincidental rangefinder. Basically, they would spot the ships coming in and relay the information to the guns.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
They never fired them, but that's what they'd do. They'd have like a big sighting scope on a platform in the middle, and they'd go out and they'd see it, and they'd give the coordinates, and the guns would fire and take out the ship. If there were any that did that, but there never was. So anyways, it's a glass all the way around, and I was given a tour there one night, and I was talking to the people, and right in the middle of it, and I was looking at them, and all of a sudden, I saw a woman outside walking, and she was walking like that, and I thought she was a member of the tour. So she got about halfway down the thing, and I waited. I stopped what I was saying and waited for her to come in, because I didn't want to repeat myself or whatever. So I waited.
So this was so, for lack of a better word, realistic that it didn't catch your eye. It was just a person.
It's a person.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a ghost or anything. I'm just saying it's a person. What I'm looking at, and she stops. I mean, she walks there, and when she gets about halfway, I stop and wait for her to come in, and I see her continue to walk all the way to the end, and there's a door right here where the end is. So I waited, and nobody came in. I said, "Is there anybody out there?" Now, Cindy, a volunteer, was standing in the door. And she said, "No, there's nobody out there." And Ed, who was outside, right where she would have ended up,
right.
And he was sitting on a rock out there. He says, "No, there's nobody out here, just me."
Yeah.
And yet, I saw her so clearly that I stopped in mid-sentence and waited for her to come in. And I saw her continue, and I waited and looked to the door for her to come in, and that was it.
So is she in period dress or?
I mean, it's, twilight, you really you're seeing a person, that's all. I mean, it was...
Plus, you're not thinking this is odd. You're thinking it's just a straggler to the group.
Yeah. And basically, you're seeing... She must have been shocked because I saw basically her upper torso, about breast high, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just like just a person. I didn't, really... I saw her, and that was, I first saw her coming, and then I looked up and saw her, and it was like, okay, and... that was it. But now, did I see her features and everything? Not that I recall.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't say that.
It's nothing that drew your particular attention.
Right. It's just a person. So here we have those three different, and there are other incidents, whatever. I need my coffee this morning.
Incidents, yeah.
Yeah, as well. But here we have the three where the Coast Guard's seeing something. I have this experience. And then we have this information about a woman that was supposedly at the explosion and disappeared.
Wow.
So is it the same woman? We can't even say that, of course.
No.
These could be all different. But it's intriguing. That's what I like about investigating a single place and doing it. Now, that can cause other problems because, like, for instance, the Houghton Mansion.
Right.
We did the first investigation there, and through the years, we were there for a bunch of public events that we did there, and we did other investigations, and all through the years, there was a change in the characters that were there, and the energy that was there, and the feel of the place that was there. Now, my theory on that is that once they opened it up to public investigations, which they did just about every weekend, there was a whole new energy there brought by the people in there. Some brought their own energy or spirits or attachments or whatever. Others, because it was the light was on, but it got brighter and brighter because there was constant investigation, So we might have drew other spirits in that were there. So it's intriguing. It's it's hard to explain this whole ghost thing. It really is,
It's chaos theory, right? The act of observing something changes it. And, so you just brought a lot of attention to that. As this type of ghost investigation became more and more popular with cable TV and everything, it's exploded in the last few years, right? Last 10 years?
I know, but, I always, as much as I do this, I always have my doubts, It's like, are we really seeing the spirits of other people? I mean, we're talking about contact and everything else, and spirit communication, blah, blah, blah. But, you always, I do anyways, always have that little bit of doubt in the back of my mind, a little bit of skepticism. And the new book says, a skeptical scientist and a medium join. And I've changed so much. I'm not as skeptical as I was in the first book, but that's growth and growing. However, I still maintain that skepticism. I still feel. There's a show. I see Ed Stevenson is listening to the show.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Ed because when I mentioned that story, Ed was the one who was sitting out in the rock. So I want to give a shout out to Ed Stevenson there. Anyway, and he's also telling me he's a part of our ghost tour all the time. He lives in the Midwest now, so
nice.
Yeah.
So, but characterize your skepticism at this point and how it's evolved, because I don't know. You could be at a point where not that you're convinced, but you have enough solid evidence of things that you believe. Well, the difference between belief and having nailed down for belief and proof, is that a fair
I don't think we'll ever
phrasing?
prove it. That's
No, we'll
the
never
bottom
prove it.
line. That's what I always say. I don't think we'll ever prove the existence of ghosts.
No, that's what I've learned on the
Unless we
show,
die,
and I
of course.
agree.
Maybe we'll know then. Hopefully
we
we'll
can't
know
tell
then.
anybody. Yeah. No, that's one of the things that I've drawn from this show is like, I don't know, what would be convincing proof at this point. That story you talked about with the woman on the wall, how many times during the course of the day do we see spirit that just looks like part of our reality?
We don't know. We can't say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. How many people do we walk by in the street that we don't pay any attention to?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe none.
Maybe none.
Right? Then there may be every other person.
Maybe I'm walking by John Quincy Adams, every night in Newburyport.
Yeah, he's dressed in modern gear now, huh?
No, but you don't pay attention to people, especially at night. You kind of keep your blinders
If you're
on.
going into the city and walking on the sidewalk and somebody comes up with your historical...
No,
I think that...
No, there are people on, sitting on the side or sitting on steps somewhere. You don't pay attention to people.
Yeah.
Think how many people you passed on the street this past weekend. How many faces can you pull out? You're not paying attention to them. It's just, it's just wallpaper.
Mm-hmm. And there are.
I mean, unless they're blonde and leggy, I don't pay attention to them.
Yeah, especially leggy. But I mean, there is one. I think it's 1 in 50 people suffer from a condition where they don't recognize people.
Oh, don't recognize faces.
Yeah, they see faces, they see eyes, they see nose. They know it's a face.
Yeah.
For instance, there are some mothers who have shown a picture of their children. Unless they recognize the clothes, won't be able to identify them as their children.
Honest to God, really?
That's true.
Wow.
I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
So there are conditions. The human condition is. I mean, everything we view is through the human condition.
Right.
And so it makes it difficult. So I don't think can we.
The thing that leaves it open for me is that there are clearly in the human race there are different levels of perception. Because we see we see people who are trained for things and they see things that nobody else would ever see.
Yeah.
The example I was thinking while you were telling the story, Tom Brady. If you sat in the pocket, in an NFL football game, all you'd see is panic. Mm-hmm. Brady sees 20 things because it's just he has a higher level of perception. I believe the human race provides people with higher level of perceptions in areas that we don't think about.
But
normally.
I think even that can be attuned. In other words, I think that you can be like you always mention about the guy in the woods that hears he might be so attuned to that there might be actually a human person that he might miss in the woods because he's not listening for that or not really attuned to that.
Yeah, my normal example is two guys are walking in the woods. One's just complaining about the mosquitoes, and the other guy's hearing birds and seeing deer and seeing tracks left over by other animals because his perception level is high.
Right. He might not even see the mosquitoes. I mean, to be honest with you, he might not be.
His attention is elsewhere.
It's elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that's even that. Even if we have a trained observer, they still can make errors.
Oh, sure.
And and once again, it's all perception. I don't want to get into the 6th and 9th thing again, but I posted on my...
I saw it. Yeah.
You saw it, right?
I did.
And you can see how they're both right in their perception of what they're seeing.
Okay. Yeah.
That's basically it. I mean, that's the same thing that these two people walking are. Their perception is tuned into certain areas. And plus, it's the way they're seeing things.
Right.
So I don't know. It's all intriguing stuff.
But where is that clear proof? However, though,
There's no clear proof.
Again, yeah, exactly.
Of the spirit, you can't.
I can manufacture audio. People can manufacture video. We could, you wouldn't believe
you
anything.
name it, anything and everything.
There's nothing that's convincing proof except for the person themselves, being there and being in the moment and seeing what there is to be seen.
To me, the experience of...
If you saw a TV show tonight with Rob Lowe, for example, if you saw a TV show tonight where...
What if that's still in the...
I don't know, to be honest with you. Somebody interviewing, John Quincy Adams or Houdini or whatever. Would you believe it? I mean, it could be done so convincingly.
Mm-hmm.
that...
Well, you look at, it's easy, just watch the Long Island Medium or some of these other things. I mean, you
No, I'm talking about a 60-minute style thing where...
Yeah, I know.
You know.
But basically, I'm saying a lot of people believe absolutely everything that the Long Island Medium says, and it's proof to them. You know, it's the truth to them. But I look at it and I'm like, still skeptical, you know.
Sure.
And do that. So the same with the 60-minute thing, and I certainly would be skeptical, so we all know he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be...
So
what if he was a time traveler, though?
Does that get frustrating, though? Because you're sitting there in an industry that's begging for... Well, I don't know if the industry's begging for proof, but certainly the public
is begging for fame. That's what they're begging for.
Certainly the public is begging for truth, and there is no way to do it except to take a person and put them in contact with spirit in a way that's convincing to them. I mean, what possible...
I always, you know...
On a mass scale in media, what possible proof could you provide?
When I always talk about... what I do, and I always talk about how I started. And when I first started, I was going to find either the proofs or disproof that the paranormal exists or the ghosts exist. And then I soon realized that was impossible. So now it's just simply sharing my experiences and letting you make up your own mind.
Right.
And that's basically what's going to happen anyways, be honest with you. Whether I presented it as proof or not, people are still going to do that.
Right.
So it's just easy to do it that way.
Plus, what you do is you put people in a position to find their own truth about it.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately what everyone has to do.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I consider myself skeptical, believe it or not. But, you know, you have someone like Steve Parson who so publicly is so super skeptical. But I think privately, I think he has the same believability that I do. I think he believes in a lot more things than he puts out to. But that's, once again...
Well, I think the three of us may have had a discussion at one point, and we arrived at a point, I think Steve arrived at a point that I really liked, where it's like, okay, I'm going to stay open to this, but I want to get rid of the crap accounts and the, you know... You want to get rid of the shoddy stuff. You want to get rid of the...
Why deal with that? Why give it any attention at all? It's like the white supremacists, and, you know, there's like a dozen of them.
But first you have...
Wait, but the dozen of them, right?
Yeah.
And if... Then you got like 300 or 1,000 counter-demonstrators. It's like, if those counter-demonstrators weren't there, nobody would pay attention to the 12. So by doing all this stuff, all you're doing is calling attention to it. You know, ignore the noise. That's basically what you do.
Well, the first thing you have to do is determine what's noise and, you know, and what isn't.
Once again, you're not going to prove anything, so why are you even... I mean, you can certainly attempt to, but it's just like, okay, this is what I've done. This is what I found. All right, orbs, we'll take orbs. Okay.
Good example, yeah.
What's that?
That's a good example, yeah.
Yeah, take orbs. And okay, Steve is very much believes it's all junk. So he will publish that, but even though he admits that he can't explain all of it, so whatever. But the whole thing is, you know, you go out and you present your thing out there, and that's what you've done. As far as you're concerned, orbs are a bunch of crap, and therefore... you know, here's my results.
Right.
You're not going to change anybody's mind. You know, why do you keep? Oh, it's like, hey, move on to something else.
No, it's not necessarily changing your mind. But haven't you run into people telling stories, whether they be professionals or people in the business, or people bringing stories to you, and sometimes you must cull out the stories that just don't add up for you, that don't.
Well, I'll take what I want, like everyone takes what they want. You know, I've made up my mind. Oh, that's a bunch of bull crap, or you know, wow, that's really cool. But you know, that's what it is. We all do that. So it's once again, but I don't do that publicly, and I don't understand why I should do it publicly. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's especially if you are out in the public and your purpose is to deal with the public, then why are you out there trashing the public? It's crazy. It's if you want to go in serious academic pursuit, then that's the route you should go. And, you know, why deal with something that's not in your realm of serious academic growth? Somebody going out and posting pictures of ghosts on Facebook, you know, and you go all over. It's like, why is it bothering you? That's what they're doing. What do you care? Pay attention to what you're doing, pursue your academic pursuit, and come up with your results. That's where you're going to make the results, not posting thing or even dealing with it. You know, it's a waste of energy. It's the way I look at it.
Stephen, you rise to academic pursuit. I don't know if I rise there, but I want to get to the compelling stuff. I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, that's what I like about what you guys do. It's like the stories come down and they're compelling,
Yeah.
Because there's 1,500 stories come at me on a daily basis. I want to get to the one or two that.
But you know what? Whatever compelling stories that we might say, Steve or myself, there are still those who are going to doubt them.
Sure.
Because that's the way it is. That's the way the human nature is.
Because you can't disprove a negative, and as we've established,
as much we tried.
and as we've established, proving a positive here is going to be extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break right now.
I mean, even with the whole UFO aspect of it, one day a UFO is going to show up on the White House lawn.
I want to talk a little bit about UFOs on it because, Anyways, you're listening to Ghost Chronicles Morning Edition right here on the net, New England Talks, and also on 102.9 HD2. As I have to always look at that.
Put it down there. Look, on the bottom of on the bottom of the computer screen.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you all the information.
Oh, we have a telephone number.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you want to contribute to the conversation, call us at 978-659-0072. That's 978-659-0072. Cool. We'll be right back.
Do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolek at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
Are you seeing a ghostly apparition every time you look in the mirror? Are you terrified to realize that pale, lifeless, lack of energy form hovering before you is in fact you? How would you like to be transformed? Healing begins from within, and it's never too late to start feeling good. Are you curious? Interested? Good. Don't wait another minute. Visit transformyourlifenow.org or contact Maureen. The email address is maureen@transformyourlife.org. Welcome back to Ghost Chronicles Morning Edition with your New England's own Van Helsing, Ron Kolek from anyghostproject.com. And you want to go to UFOs? Is that what you want to do?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out the website, anyghostproject.com. And of course, Spirit Quest is coming up. And what is that, September 28th, 29th, and 30th. And one of the topics we'll be talking about is UFOs, as well as a lot of other ones as well. So it's going to be an interesting Spirit Quest this year. You can get tickets for the day or tickets for the weekend. So check out the site, anyghostproject.com.
Yeah.
So UFOs, last night, I had a real busy weekend. I had a wedding that I was out late, and then, of course, the ghost tours. And so I was dragging last night, and I went to bed, and as I usually do, and throw on the TV on some... It's funny, what I put it on is some documentary type thing, some information thing. Never like a show that you follow. It's more like
no Downton Abbey anymore.
No, nothing. Well, no, yeah. Because I'm going to fall asleep anyways, and I won't see the end of it. So I put it on UFOs. I have Netflix, and usually there's some good series on Netflix I like to watch on, but. I could, for some reason, the router was out last night. So, anyways, I put it on these Ancient Aliens, and they had the guy that looks like the guy from Dune with the big hair.
Yeah, I don't know that guy's name, but I know him. Yeah,
he was on there, and a bunch of other men. The guy wrote Chariots of the Gods. Hannigan, whatever it is.
I read that book when I was a kid.
I'm so bad with names,
and
everything else, and they always put. It's always the same stuff. Be honest with you, it really is. And so UFOs, I mean, is that something, I've always kind of like, I've got enough to deal with ghosts and other stuff than deal with UFOs. So I never really not spend much time on it.
Sure.
I mean, like I said, I'll put the occasional UFO show on and see what's going on. And I love science fiction. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I guess I'm still lingering where I was with Spirit when up until a year or two ago, when I finally accepted we're not going to prove this. If there are UFOs, if there are physical travelers,
right,
there's going to be evidence. There's got to be some evidence. And again,
maybe,
yeah. Again,
people say there's evidence now. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I guess we're back into the same point. But at someday, a UFO is going to land on the front lawn of the White House. It's just going to be the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, it'll probably be the Russians.
They'll blame it on the Russians.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be the Russians.
Yeah.
I don't know. The numbers game works one way. In other words, there's so much space out there. There has to be some intelligent, travelable life.
And then
but we're in the,
the armpit of the galaxy.
Yeah, we're in the back alleys here. What are the odds they stumble across
so far away from everything. So
Right.
unless there's a technology that's so far advanced, then. But I think about that, and I think how fast our own
everybody
technology
has a camera. Everybody has.
Yeah, but I'm talking about not so much identify them, but to be able to travel to our world.
Yeah.
When I think about technology, I think about how fast it has advanced in your lifetime,
Right.
my lifetime.
Right.
So things that I thought were impossible, maybe they aren't. Maybe this, light years of travel is possible. So,
I clearly remember a time before computers. Before people had computers anyway.
maybe you used to pay $100 and something for a calculator.
Yes.
Now they give them away.
Yeah.
They
I
did.
know, right?
Seriously, do you remember?
Right. Yeah.
It was
And
crazy.
Time before cell phones, certainly. All the phones are hardwired.
First cell phones, like those big ass things, car phones were like the ones from
Right.
World War II. The big walkie-talkies they had on Combat. Do you remember Combat?
God, yeah, I remember combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've advanced so far in some areas, and in others, we're supposed to have flying cars by now. And
Yeah, I know. So,
but no, you're right. The exponential level of technological achievement, the pace just picks up constantly, and we're just making all kinds of innovations. God knows where and that's what 50 years. Where we're going to be 100 years from now? What are we going to be doing 100 years from now?
it's amazing if we're still around.
Yeah.
The way the Earth's kicking back at us, maybe we won't be.
But spirit is one thing, because again, one of the questions we ask with spirit is what's internal and what's external.
Right.
In other words, does the spirit communicate with you internally? Is the spirit an internal manifestation?
Right.
If you've got visitors, if you've got UFOs, you've got aliens, those are physical. Those are
Not
external.
necessarily.
Yeah, so they're going to travel to. It's interesting.
Go ahead.
Because you talked about watching these shows. I stumbled into one last night, and the subject of the show, and it was the same group of guys, the guys with the hair, the guy with the hair, and all that stuff, and they were talking about Einstein and Tesla, and talking about mental exercises they did, and they wondered if they were communicating.
Right. Well,
Externally.
Tesla always said that he communicated with people from Mars.
Right.
He did get communication, but whether it came from Mars is...
Right, and it was it was kind of the chariot of the gods type of theory, where they were looking at the advances, how far Tesla and Einstein and people of that ilk, Socrates, I think they talked about, how far in front of civilization they were from a mental standpoint, and that had to come external. That was their theory, that maybe they got this externally.
Why?
That they were
Why?
Well,
externally, you talking about you got their ability from someone else?
No, they got into a trance-like state and were able to communicate. Because you just brought it up. I said a visitor would have to be physical.
Right. No, it doesn't.
That they were communicating with some other civilization or society or another
Tesla
level.
Actually had...
And Tesla claimed it, you're right.
Physical... He did physical communication through his machines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what he went through.
They talked about a letter he wrote to the Red Cross where he actually said that he was communicating with other beings.
Mentally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that Tesla had the ability to do, and since he was a child, he used to be able to go to places, astral project, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what always, he could understand the language and everything else, according to, Tesla.
He claimed to be able to his electromagnetic type of machinery and stuff. He claimed to be able to prototype it and test it in his mind.
Right, before.
And break down stuff.
Before he did everything.
But certainly there's another level, and we started this conversation about perception. And certainly there's another level of perception.
On that quick note is that, I forget this quote, it might be from Einstein or someone else, that inventions are made twice, once in your mind and once in the physical world.
Yeah.
So that's goes right in with what you were saying. I'm sorry. So
this is levels of skill too, because we know there's other mental levels you can reach where you can tap into other things.
Right.
People, we're becoming more and more aware of it now. You talk about technology ramping up, mindfulness and that type of approach is ramping up big time. Maybe there are.
But hasn't it always been there?
Not as mainstream. Certainly not here in the United States. I can't speak for other countries. Certainly not here in the United States.
Guys like, oh, damn, there it goes. What the heck was his name?
I know, but how many women and how many people do you have doing yoga now and starting to get into these types of disciplines? Certainly on a rudimentary, backyard amateur level, but in America, in the 70s, 80s, yes. Who was doing this in the 80s?
1800s, we all were.
All were what?
Doing this.
What, getting in mindfulness?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, the Victorian era?
The spiritualist movement was huge.
Playing with this
huge.
Type of thing, yeah.
Every time there's after the
But then we went off and fought a war and came back and, in the 50s, 40s, late 40s and 50s, we weren't paying attention to this stuff.
There's always a rise. No, that's not true, because whenever there's a rise in disaster in the world, whether it's a war or a
pandemic,
there's a greater interest in this spirituality and supernatural, because we want to know that there's more. We've probably lost someone who's loved, and we want to know that they still exist in some plane, so we become more interested in it. And personal tragedy also stems that as well.
But it's reasonable to believe there are outliers in the human race that would have much higher skills in these areas than the average person.
I don't think they have much higher skills. I think they're more aware of their skills.
Oh, they've developed them to a much higher extent, or
they're just aware of them. I don't know if they even developed them. They're just more aware of that they have this ability. Some of these sightings of ghosts that we have, some of these. Even UFO is what I was trying to get at. Is maybe that is a skill that we all have, but we've had this experience. Other words, that whatever the particular reason, we had this experience. Other words, it kicked in at that point, and we were able to, connect and have this experience. So, for instance, you talked about ghosts being everywhere. Okay, so maybe they are. But only some people can see them, because that's the way they've opened up to and became. We all have the ability, but they're the ones that have been somehow activated or being able to witness it. And this may be, for UFOs at all. We may have people from other planets or creatures from other planets, depending on what you want to think of them, visiting us, but they may be doing this strictly mental. It could be an astral projection.
Right, take the whole physics of space travel out of it.
Right.
And do it on a mental collective consciousness basis, as opposed.
You don't need a suit to, because they different environments and so forth. They could be temperature sensitive. They could be oxygen. Could be fatal to them or whatever if they breathe helium or something. I don't know.
And look at us. This is.
We should have a helium breathing race.
Oh yeah. What's the other gas that lowers your voice?
Why don't they do that in the Ovilus? Not the Ovilus, the Orville. You ever seen the Orville?
No, I don't watch it that much. Is it good?
It's McFarlane, right? It's a takeoff in Star Trek.
Yep.
It's not bad, really. I enjoyed it. I thought it was more than I thought it was going to be. But that would be perfect for them to have a helium-speaking race where they all.
I know, right?
That would be a riot.
Look at what we've done. What we're doing as a race, however, we're starting to do that type of thing. I mean, we're doing more by drone, and fighting wars and viewing. By drone, we're starting to extend ourselves beyond ourselves. And if the problem of intergalactic travel is too big from a physics standpoint, why do it that way? Maybe there's another way maybe someone's found another way to do it.
Oh, speaking about finding other ways, I was watching, I think it might have been Channel 4, Channel 5, whatever, one of the news programs, and they were talking about a Cambridge company that
Quantum entanglement. I go back to quantum entanglement.
produces rocket engines.
Oh.
Future rocket. Now, the engine is small in this book. It's probably about, would you say that's like 2 by 4?
10 inches? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Small. It's small.
Yep.
Say, I would say, about say 2 by 4. And it has the pushing power of a mosquito, right?
Of a mosquito?
Of a mosquito.
Yeah.
But they anticipate that they'll be able to use these for space travel because they're in a vacuum. You don't have any resistance.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll be able to
So how
push.
much power do you need?
Yeah, and it's one engine. They can put, at the size of them, they can put tons of them
Right.
out there. And it's intriguing that you look at it that way, and because we have big ass rocket engines with all kinds of fuel. Well, this is electric too, by the way.
Right.
So
electric.
solar, even easier.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah, so
Perpetual.
endless fuel.
Yeah.
Well, not endless. I would imagine there's some dark spots in the world, in the universe.
Well, yeah. I mean, how you're going to be in between stars? So
The suns, yeah. Who knows? I don't know how much light's out there.
Different approaches, right?
Yeah.
This is part of the thing that you and I talk about all the time is we get to a point in our society quite often where we think we've got everything figured out. So if we can't figure it out, it can't happen. But, there's so much we don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially on these levels that we're talking about. Quantum level, on spiritual levels, on, the frequencies and levels that we're not quite aware of yet. I mean, I keep going back to, we were leeching people for viruses and stuff before we knew bacteria existed.
They still use leeches, by the way.
Because we didn't have that perception of the bacterial level, and
True.
that opened everything up. Mm-hmm. What's our next perception jump? What will we see then once we figure it out?
It's all about adaptation as well. Yeah. How we adapt to things and so forth. I mean, I watched this. Once again, I had this show on before I fell asleep, and they had this bug. It's a fly, actually. It's a big-ass fly. And what it does, it lays its larvae on humans.
Nice.
But it can't get near humans because the fly is so big. Mm-hmm. They just get swatted off. So what it does, it captures smaller creatures like mosquitoes, actually holds them, and then puts their larvae on them.
Oh, my God. Really?
And so when the mosquito, which is small, and we've all gotten bit by mosquitoes, will go on, and it actually lays a larva on it, and the larva burrow into the skin of the person, human.
Oh, God.
And then
I didn't need that.
It comes to full growth, and maggots come out.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Where is this fly?
It's in South America.
Oh, God, thank God.
People in the U.S. have had this problem.
Really?
It doesn't hurt you, believe it or not. It just grosses the out of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I don't even have it.
A
That's doing
mosquito
that.
bug, and then it gets a bump. But basically, it's a larva. The best way to do it, by the way, is to basically let it develop and leave on its own. Although you can cut off the oxygen, and that kind of can pull it out too.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff. But here we have a nature, right? We kind of poo-poo nature, but nature's, it's really resilient as far as survival, not only the creatures, but the planet itself. And a lot of this, it sounds really hippie and thing, but a lot of this stuff that's happened to the Earth, volcanoes and hurricanes and stuff like that, I think a lot of it's the Earth trying to save itself and condition in itself. And if there's pressure, they has to relieve the pressure. So it's almost like a living organism. I'm not trying to be a hippy-dippy or anything else. But and then maybe the living organism thing is a little bit too much. But I do believe that it's its own system, that it adapts and does what it has to do.
It is, but let's try to separate adaptation from sentience.
Sentience.
In other words, I was just reading the other day, someone was talking the other day about this tree that kills birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way fruit has evolved is what they do is they develop the fruit, put the seeds in the fruit, the fruit's eaten by animals and taken other places, and the seeds are expelled.
Yeah.
And that's how the tree spreads itself.
Right.
So that wasn't a thought process by the tree as much as it was the ones that did that initially are the ones who survived. It's evolution more than sentience. In other words, not
It was the tree that
not
did it,
adaptation is thought. It's selection. It's natural selection, I guess is the term. Is natural selection sentient?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
I mean, the Earth is a better example because, geologically, because that's not even life, so to speak. A volcano isn't alive. It's just reacting to certain pressures. It's a
Well, not the volcano
consequence
being
machine.
alive, but the Earth being alive as a closed ecosystem. Think of it as a...
Yeah, so is there a sentience that says we got to put a volcano over there or where?
Do we have to put a sentience to it? Anything?
I'm asking.
I don't.
We
really
don't
know.
have to. No.
No, I don't really know. I said it like almost alive, and I knew almost as I said it was going to be come back and bite me on the ass. But
Oh no, I wasn't. I'm not even trying to. I'm just
kind of comparing it to it. It's like it's a closed ecosystem where well, just think of it as an engine.
Well, I'll tell you why you have to have
an engine has to do certain things.
Yeah.
In other words, if the pressure is too high in an engine, it has a valve that, well, say a steam engine
Right.
we're talking about, it relieves the engine.
Sure.
So it's that kind of thing. It does certain things to keep itself running.
Here's why the conversation's important and why you have to parse that.
Okay.
Because our leaps to this point,
Yeah.
well, not all of them, of course, but our leaps largely have been sentience. We've thought about these things. We weren't forced to evolve to go to the bottom of the ocean or go into space. We did it because we thought about it and decided to do it.
Right.
So our gains in the future, whether it be about quantum entanglement or spiritual communication or collective consciousness or all that stuff, those are going to be things we're going to find through sentience, not through evolution.
So let's go back to that then. If that's the way you want to look at it, then we don't know the sentient ability of plants and other things. I mean, if you go all the way back to the 70s and the cigarette life of plants, and we at Exit designed and manufactured a biofeedback device for plants who would actually have human reactions to
They would react to
different
stimulus.
conditions,
Yeah.
different stimulus.
Yeah.
So is that ascension? I mean, there is that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, people have green thumbs. Why do plants do better for certain people than another? And they could treat them exactly the same, but they don't. Why do plants, react to music better than that? So, I mean...
Isn't that perception level is too? Because it wasn't too long ago, we didn't think dogs had souls. We didn't think dogs were who they were. Yeah. We didn't think dogs dogs can learn up to 250 words. They have counting ability. They can do math.
Right.
But we had no idea of that
is
because it was
sentient?
outside of our
Is
perception.
that sentient?
Yeah.
Well, you've made it that way.
Right.
I mean, dolphins have certainly that.
Right.
There's certain species. I mean, how do you cut off the sentient?
Yeah.
What you define as
That's
sentient?
my point. I'm looking at a plant now.
I can't do that. So
I'm looking at a plant now and going, well, there's not sentience there, or a tree there. There's not sentience. But I recognize that 10 years down the road, we may have all figured out that this.
There is some type of sentience, and once again, we're not really defining.
We got to define the term, right?
Yeah, so that
gets tricky too.
But talk about ability. I mean, you look at there's this what is this? A snail. It's a snail. Okay, it lives in a pond. Mm-hmm. What it does is it attaches its parasite to the parasites in the snail.
What is it with you and parasites?
I don't know. Parasite in the snail attaches itself to a tadpole, which grows up, gets eaten by the bird. The bird flies away, craps, and the crap is the thing, and it spreads itself. So that's how, how did we get from one point to one point? I mean, like I said, did someone think that through, or what? We don't know.
We're skirting the edge of intelligent design now.
I know it's so intriguing. You could go crazy on it. But once again, you have to define what sensibility is or whatever it is.
Because I can sit there, I can go back, and I can make a reasonably.
I'm sure you could.
A reasoned argument that that's natural selection. the birds ate these things and did that, and that's why they survived. If they hadn't, that wouldn't have survived.
But how did they figure it? I mean, well, all of a sudden, okay, let me put this and do this to do that. That's like...
They probably didn't. They probably did it for another reason.
So isn't there some communication between the species? I mean, between the species itself?
That they said, listen, if you want some progeny, do this to the...
How would they know to do
this
it?
to the tadpole?
Yeah, how would they know to do it?
I don't know. The ones that did, for whatever crazy reason.
The ones
first
that did,
idiot
but
that did it survived.
how did they transfer that information to the next generation,
DNA. Yeah, see, I had this conversation.
DNA.
I had this conversation the other day about. I read this piece where they were talking about cats. It was a little meme, animal facts. Mm-hmm. Cats don't like their water next to their food.
What?
Yeah, cats don't want their water next to their food. They'll be reluctant to drink water next to their food because cats believe that killed food might have contaminated the water. And I'm looking at this tabby in a house. Uh-huh. How does this tabby know this? There are things that are passed down through DNA. We call them instincts, but we know to look at I don't know that's what I was asking. Does a child know to look at a snake and know that that's a bad thing? Stay the hell away from it.
No, that's something.
Yeah, but there is information in animals passed down generationally. There is learned behavior.
But that being said, I've had cats all my life, and I've never seen that behavior.
Well, maybe a cat's just pissed off that the water's next to the food, but drinks it anyway because that's the only water it's going to get.
I've never had that problem. Yeah. I know that it's intriguing because the cats will always, like my cat or any of the cats I've had, will take especially now the twist ties. You get a twist tie, finds it on the floor, plays with it. He takes it and he puts it in his water dish. And he drops it in his water dish.
Puts it in his water dish?
Yeah. Always.
Why?
All of my cats have done that.
Wow.
What did you talk about? You just said that.
Oh.
What did you say?
Because they don't want to drink it, or?
No. When you were giving me a thing about why the water cat's dead, you were saying about contamination. Right. What did they do?
They don't like their water next to the food because the dead contaminates the water.
What dead?
The food.
That they put into it.
Okay.
See, that's what... So... Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I've always witnessed that
those
in
cats. Thinking,
and we're not talking about. I've had cats all through the years, and not from the same family, through totally different, obscure families. So I've witnessed that behavior. So because I've witnessed that behavior, is that what you said wrong, or is it right?
Oh, I don't know. It's inconclusive, isn't it?
So aren't there differences in the norm, is what I'm saying.
Oh, sure.
This is the norm, but there are other conditions that... So maybe cats have begun to adapt to their water dish next to their thing.
Right.
Maybe this is saying, well, I'm not going to get any water unless I drink it next to my water dish.
There's a cat and there's kittens, and the mother cat's drinking water next to the food. The kittens, it's acceptable and does it, and there's other factors involved.
Right.
But and again, it was just a meme, so you can take it for what it's worth. But the premise of the meme is that this tabby in a house in New Jersey has some connection with some cat somewhere that knows that if there's something dead next to the water could be contaminated. How does that happen? How do you even propose that link?
Right. And then it gets broken once again.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, like I said, I had many cats.
Well, think about us as humans. Heights are a problem. Snakes are a problem. Spiders are a problem. But there are those of us who learn or adapt and play with them and hang glide and do all that stuff.
There was a... Did you see the woman, the girl, that took her senior pictures next to that big-ass crocodile?
No.
It's like a 13-foot, might be a 20-foot. The thing was huge. I mean, and big around. Yeah. And she had her senior pictures taken with it. She worked in that sanctuary where she fed the alligators and everything. Yeah. But there she was, all dressed up and standing in front of this big-ass alligator.
Right.
Now, would you do it?
Genetic instinct would tell us, stay the hell away from that.
Would you do it?
No, I would not.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Not particularly.
Not a chance.
Yeah. But we also adapt. We find ways to adapt to. In other words, when you are confronted by danger, we all react differently to danger as well, right?
Right.
Some of us would run away. Some of us would face it. Some of us would just freeze.
Because we're sentient. We can figure it out.
Is the show censored?
The show is sentient.
We have to go.
The show has reached the end. Yes.
So anyways, thank you for listening to Ghost Chronicles Morning Edition with Lou Blassie and Ron Kolek right here on the net, New England Talks, and also on Ghost Chronicles Morning Edition.
AnyGhostProject.com. Spirit Quest is coming up. Get your tickets.
You got it. Yeah. So thanks for listening. See you next week.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Deliver us, good Lord.